when I start to say everything, well, that was more from the recent past, and I'm thinking, well, not that recent now. This one goes back quite a bit further than that. This is when I was sitting in a movie theater out in LA one night, sitting there in the dark. We used to go watch all of our movies. We didn't stream everything at that point. There was no streaming at that point, but I was in the theater there watching this movie called The Fabulous Baker Boys, and well, that shows our age, doesn't it? All this. Anyway, I think it starred Jeff Bridges and his brother Bo Bridges, and Michelle Pfeiffer, if my memory serves me correctly. And it takes place in Seattle, out there in Washington State. And I was watching the film and thinking about Jeff's character, Jeff Bridges. He kept coming in and out. He lived in this kind of ungentrified old warehouse space down on the docks, fishing docks, and all the fishing boats were tied up out in front of the window where he lived. And he was up a couple floors up in this warehouse, and you know, it wasn't much of a place. It was, but it had this gorgeous view. I remember being taken by that over Puget Sound after you got past all the ugly of the fish being dumped there on the docks and all that stuff. And there was a little girl and her mother that lived in a similar warehouse space right up above him. And that little girl, throughout the movie, she was about 10 or 11, she'd come down the fire escape when she heard him. There was no father in that family up there that was living with him. And she'd sit on the outside of his window ledge on the fire escape and talk to him through the window. He was very kind to her. His character was very kind to that little girl character throughout the film, and kind of became a surrogate father for her. You know, she'd tell him about his day, and he'd ask her questions. And so this particular scene, he came back from having a big row with his brother's character and Michelle's character. Big blow up. He was just really angry, ornery, and mean. He came in and, you know, slammed his big the warehouse door over that space. And of course, the little girl heard it. She came on down the fire escape and said, as usual, and talked to him. And he wouldn't even turn around and want to look at her. He was just in such a brooding, awful mood. And as I watched the scene, he was, you know, just barely acknowledging her. She was trying to just talk like normal, and like she had done throughout the early part of the movie. And he spun around, finally just kind of bit her head off, just ripped her apart. And it crushed her. She welled up with tears and jumped up, ran up the fire escape to get away from him. And he was just standing there, staring at, you know, that part of himself that had done that to that poor little girl, and feeling like the heel that he was. And in that dark movie theater, I grabbed a little spiral pad that I had, because we didn't have cell phones at that point. We had, I mean, carpet, but it was like carrying a cinder block around with you. Yeah, we're that old. Yeah, I know some of you had that. You carried it around like. Hell, I have to think back to that. That was pretty stupid to carry that big old cinder block brick. You know, it was a big deal when they just looked like a military walkie-talkie. You could have that in the car. Anyway, so we had nothing like in our pocket, you know, at that point that you could take a note on. But in the dark, I always carried a little pen and this little pad, and I wrote down this first line in the dark, and the movie finished, and got out to my car and jotted down a couple more lines. And it has nothing specific to do with the film in terms of the storyline, but it's just the moment of that, him crushing that little girl and that place and that time that they were in. And got home and I finished writing it. It went like this. I pay rent on a redneck place. There ain't no view but the blocks of space. My heart that you home. Pay the rent, pay the rent all the time. Baby, I pay you every single dime. My heart, the heart of your own. Used to be able to love you for free, way back before you bought the property. Now I pay daily on what once was mine. Lord, I probably owe you for these tears that I cried. Yeah. I pay rent on a damn place. verse, and I was just thinking about where I come from over in Pikeville, Kentucky, which we're going to play with here tomorrow night. You know what made me think about it was, you know, I always sing that verse. I stopped playing the guitar. I realized when I came back in singing, and some people in some circles, not here in Louisville, not down in Pikeville, me hollering that way might scare people. I had a guy that I was doing a record, a one-off record, not my original producer or anybody I worked with since, but he sent back a note at some point from long distance. He said, "Could you ask him not to holler as much?" I thought, well, buddy, that's just how I sing. I said, you know, when you're born and live up in the holler the first couple of years of your life, you learn to holler. I was just thinking, well, no, that verse went by. I said, yeah, that would have scared him. So it's like, well, anyway, that was my mind tangent when I sang it. Sorry, oh, man. Starting tonight to find a new way, pay what I owe so I can stay. I ain't have to do, so you can't throw me out. I've loved you for years, don't know where I'd go now. Yeah, 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 I've been in a running place. There ain't no you with the flock of space. Sitting in a movie theater, started when I was sitting in a movie theater. You never know where a song's going to come from, the idea for a song's going to come from. I know where my hollering singing comes from, though, Kentucky. It don't come from, clearly it don't come from California or Nashville. The guy happened to be in Nashville sending that note back. I went, he's just singing too loud. And I was like, well, I'm proud of that. But in any event, oh man, I cut this song years